Hello and welcome to Shmu in Focus, a new podcast series that delves beneath the surface of issues important to our communities. In this series, we're exploring mental health in Aberdeen. We'll be sharing experiences, talking to communities, hearing from organisations and challenging stigma. In this episode, we are deep diving into the lived experience of mental health, speaking to those affected, and today I'm joined by Rachel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Jay.
Good morning, felt like.
And Sadiq.
Good morning, Dave.
And I've also got with me Sarah here, who's the part of the adult services team here.
I am, yes, thank you. Good morning. So, just want to firstly thank you all for coming on and being part of today's podcast to share your experiences. We know that mental health is a complex and challenging issue to talk about, but we think it's really important that we get the lived experience of those that are battling mental health kind of day to day, and it can help us challenge the stigma, break down those barriers, and just raise that awareness. So just want to thank you all for coming on and sharing your experiences with us.
Absolutely, thank you. So, Rachel, we'll start with you. What type of mental health pressures do you have, or have you had?
It'll be a massive list. I don't know. I think mine's is more like daily struggles, motivation. I mean,
he was talking about that last week. You're a single mum, so you've got different sort of pressures.
Yeah. So single mum pressure and just living with personality disorder. So every day is different. Every personality is different. I don't know what mood I'm going to be in every different hour of the day. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, the challenges kind of go on a wide variety scale.
Well, you were talking last week about the one of the things which I never actually thought about, but I was listening to your show last week, and you were saying that one of the things that causes extra pressures that we being a single parent, you've got to be the sort of good cop and bad cop to your kids as well. So
yeah, that's
no
probably
sort of
one of the
ground,
worst.
really.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's like so many different things that come with being like a single parent. You've got like the battles of like even the pressures of trying to get things right, and then you've got like the mum guilt, and if you do something wrong, and then you've got to try and make up for it, and then you've got to be the good cop and the bad cop. Do you know what I mean? So you give them into trouble, and you've got to that makes you the bad cop, obviously, and then you've got to try and make up for it.
Yeah, and then instantly feel bad about it. Yeah, instantly
feel bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. I've given my kids into trouble before, and then I've literally sat and cried, and they're like, "Mum, why are you crying?" I'm like, because I feel bad. I gave you into trouble. But then people say to you like, "Oh, you're showing too much emotion." Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just trying to find the fine balance of, like if you're impacting them with your mental health and.
Yeah, I think that's a very common problem, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard, and I was a single parent as well. Rachel, Jake's now 20, so I've done, but there's an immense pressure on that, and there is definitely that kind of good cop, bad cop role where you have to, and kids are never going to learn the way in life without kind of being that good cop, but the pressure on that, and when they go to school and being able to provide, and all their peers are having with this and that, and it's it can be immense, but you can just do what you can do, and that's
it. You can only do what you can.
Do your best, and those children will love you for who you are, and when they grow up and they look back on the experiences, to grow up in a single parent household, it takes a lot of strength. So you've got to give yourself that credit, and we are so quick to judge ourselves and to criticize ourselves. And I think we never actually sit back and say, do you know what, I'm actually doing an okay job. I've actually got a roof over my head, and the kids are happy, and they're clothed, and they're they're okay. And I think that's what we need to give ourselves more credit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same question for you, Jay. What type of mental health pressures do you have?
I think for me, because I'm on the autistic spectrum, things that would normally not be a big problem for neurotypical people can become major stressors for me. I'm currently undergoing a period of significantly bad mental health at the moment. There's quite a lot going on in my life. For example, I live alone, and I don't really have people here that I can, hang out with, come into shmu or out with my support times. And that's really had quite a negative impact. Also, I've just been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and for a trauma that happened about 14 years ago, that at the time I just don't think was treated very well, or even treated as trauma. It was just basically get over it kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of issues that I have, I think, are exacerbated by being on the autistic spectrum, and the mental health provision that is given out, from my own personal opinion and my own personal experience. I feel like the mental health provision that's there isn't actually tailored to people on the autistic spectrum. It's a one size fits all kind of approach, and it really doesn't help. I mean, for example, CBT is not something that generally tends to work well with people on the autistic spectrum. Same with antidepressants. There's increasing evidence that suggests that SSRIs don't necessarily help people on the spectrum in the same way, and this is all the only thing that the NHS are willing to hand out, it would seem. I've had counselling and what have you as well, and that was quite positive, but when I went back on the antidepressants, for some reason I seemed to kind of go more into myself in my counselling sessions. I noticed that pretty much straight away.
Yeah, we had a couple of guys from Men in Mind in before, and they said exactly the same as you, that doctors seem very happy to push antidepressants without actually going to the root of the problem. And as you says, they think it's one size fits all. That it was the same for you, or it would be for me, or be for anyone in here, and that's not right.
No, and we're all different. I mean, there's Rachel, who's a single mum. I mean, I've just it's like listening to Rachel's response. It's been an actual education.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing here.
That's why I think it's important that we do, we get together and we share the experiences, because as much as you're all suffering with your own unique mental health, but it's similar in a way, but it's overall.
But our treatment plans could be completely different.
100%, yeah.
And
Sadiq,
Sadiq, how does your mental health affect you? Because you're totally different as well. You've a totally different outlook on this.
Yeah, basically, like, I've been diagnosed with PTSD around 2022. I had a big breakdown, and I've been sectioned in the past, and since then, like, trying to live each day as it comes, and every day it can be, for me, very difficult, like, so I don't know what next day will bring for me, so I just take it as it comes, and I live by myself, and I don't have anyone in Aberdeen. So pretty much what Jay said, he lives alone, so do I. So basically all the people I have is shmu people, and also people I know from other different charities. So yeah, basically every day, like, I have different thoughts, and I keep on thinking negatively, and basically always in my mind I keep on thinking what other people thinking, and I constantly have to prove myself. And basically it's a big stigma, and no matter how you are, like, people will always judge you, and there's a big stigma. And in the past, people have been treating me differently. I've been abused racially, I've been abused by my family, I've been abused when I was a child, when I was school. So I don't have a positive life, and find it very difficult to live a positive life.
Yeah, I was going to say that, because we've talked about this before, about what happened in your past life. And how does that affect your day-to-day life then? Your mental health pressures?
It affects me a lot. Basically how I think, and who to trust, and find it very difficult to let my guard down. I always have to keep my guards up, and very cautious of people.
I think that's a story. I think that would be the same for you as well, Jay. You keep your guard up all the time.
I think I've noticed myself doing that more as I've gotten older. Do you know, I mean, Sadiq was talking about, being abused throughout childhood. I was in the foster care system because of, living, I was passed around a lot as a bairn, and I was also quite badly physically abused by my birth mum's husband, who, locked me in a room. I was obviously like physically abused. It went berserk, and there was bruising and what have you. My birth mum, when I met up with her about 10, 11 years ago, she denied all of this ever happening. But recently, my half-sister wanted to actually get, she wanted to get a case against her dad, my birth mum's ex-husband, and she was like, Jay, can you support me? And I said, well, okay, I'll do an FOI request for all of my files. And they turned up. They were about they were about the size of a blooming doorstep, about a foot high worth of papers. Like half a foot high worth of papers. I kind of fed them into the photocopier where I was volunteering, read them all on my iPad, and yeah, actually a lot of stuff did happen. And I think, coming back to mental health, this has probably affected me, and affected the trauma that I had in 2010, because there was a lot that was congruent with what happened, in my childhood, and that's probably why that kind of did happen. But I never thought about childhood trauma like coming back, because I thought, because I'd had a good childhood when I was fostered, I feeling, I thought, well, okay, talk to you about my childhood. My childhood was fine. It was perfect. I had a good family life. I didn't want for anything. Everything was taken care of, but I wasn't spoiled, I don't think, although my mum will disagree with that. Pushed to work, study hard, but also, not, overworked or what have you. So it was a good family life. But, and then adult life came, being, abused, being on the autistic spectrum, not being accepted by society. I had a girlfriend who, kind of brought about the trauma in 2010, and I think that is something, especially now with even like romantic relationships, I think that I probably put my guard up when I don't want to. So my last relationship was a bit of a crock because of that, and it's a shame because this was a very caring person.
I think there's a lot of childhood trauma, and I think we're seeing that more. And for people that had, that grew up in what they would class as perfectly normal households, and mum and dad, but actually mum and dad both worked, they weren't there, if they got upset, dad was like, oh, don't get upset, you don't cry about it, to males especially, be a man up, you don't need to cry, you don't show your emotions. And I think it's really, there's so much in your childhood that stems to your adult life. And as me, I've realised that a lot recently with the way I respond to certain situations. I didn't have a negative childhood. It wasn't that, but I didn't have a dad in my life, and then when I had Jake, his dad left him, so there's that kind of abandonment. And it's not until you actually sit and think about it and you realise, okay, this is impacts going forward. And I think it's so important that we see a lot of the adults that are coming into our adult services support is childhood is trauma. When you start to unpick and why they're responding the way they're responding, it's because of something that happened to them 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they've never dealt with it, and it has such a huge impact on their future life, which that there's so much work being put into supporting children and the early years interventions and all of that, because it's so critical that we effectively get it right from them in the beginning.
It's like basically everyone in life, like everyone had a different experience, but different way they were traumatized. It could be relationship, it could be childhood, it could be adulthood. Like basically, like our life basically impacts how people treat it and how they treat people. And and basically after you've been through that, like, it's hard to move on, and it's always gonna stick behind your head, and you cannot move on from it. Like, it's really hard. Like, for me, like, how I cope with things, I intend to keep myself busy, so the thoughts in my head, like, are distracted. So that's the way I deal with it. And earlier on, like, you asked me, how does it impact my day-to-day life? So when I'm alone, like, I'm always down, and the thoughts, like, when I'm remembering things that intend to put me down, and so regardless what you do in life, still that's gonna stick with you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get bring you in, Rachel, here as well. Do you resonate with what the two guys are saying here about coping mechanisms and putting your guard up as well when you not trusting people, not letting people in?
Yeah, see, that's always been like a big issue for me. So like a lot of friendships have gone wrong in relationships, and I always pull more negatives out of positives. You know, like if someone was to show me a picture, I'd always see the negatives in it more than I would see positives. But it was always the same for relationships. So like I think I've been traumatized by every relationship. You know, like it could be really positive, and then you have an argument and it just turns completely sour.
Yeah. And
that'll be me more negative and more wary of trusting people. So I don't really trust a lot of people now, and I wouldn't say I'm not very good at keeping my guard up, to be honest. I always let people in, and then it just completely destroys me. So it's it's a tough one.
I don't know where I am actually, because I think I can when I've met someone, I can kind of, well, not latch on, but I mean I can certainly lay all my cards on the table. So I mean I've got a really close friend now at the moment that I've met. She's you'd probably heard her if you listen to Shmu FM live. She's called Victoria. She sometimes comes up. She's quite well spoken and from the south of England, and she knows a lot about a lot of my childhood stuff. And I've only really known her since September 22, but it kind of feels like we've known each other ever such a long time.
Yeah, it's good to have someone like that you can trust with to let people know and share things like that, and know that. But as you say, it is very difficult to let people in, and as you say, Rachel, you trust people, you let them in, then they let you down, and then you're even more wary the next time. Then it happens again. It's just like a cycle, and you start blaming yourself for it. Yeah,
I think one of the biggest ones for me was like I'd let in a group of friends, and then I'd fell out with them. And then instantly it was, oh well, you're moody all the time, like not everything's about you, and like it just completely blew up, and it just went completely against my mental health. And it was like that's the only thing that people can argue with me for, is for being moody or being negative. Like I never want to. That's why, like, if you see me about, I'm always trying to be happy, because I'm like, I don't want to put that negative effect on people, because like that friend had said, I was negative all the time,
and it's those words that stay with you as well. You're going to remember that the next time you maybe say something wrong, and it's maybe not even saying something wrong. You say something that you then feel is wrong because they've had that, and that's that's why we want to do these shows. We want to get the awareness out that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I catastrophize. Like, even I could have the best day ever. Like, I could have the best week ever. Everything's going right. The weather's sunny. There's people around. And
you'll still think it's going to snow and there's going to be a thunderstorm. And
it's. I mean,
we have a lot of chat about this.
I do. I think when is the fall coming? Because it will come. If there's anything that I know, the fall will come, and it's about trying to prepare for that.
Yeah, but I think it's about when you've had that trauma and you've constantly been let down, that you're constantly looking for something to happen, and it's really hard to change those thoughts, and that's what we spend a lot of time chatting about that, and kind of being, let's just focus on today, and don't need to focus on what's going to happen X, Y and Z, but when you've had that negative and you've constantly felt let down, you're going to go to that negative place. But it's about kind of surrounding yourself with those positive influences and
thinking positively, and I know that, Rachel, you've got a friend that you've had for childhood that are still friends with now, and that's the people that, they know you better than anyone else, and they're not saying that you're boring or you're argumentative or anything like that, you know, and you fall out with friends, but to have somebody from you as kids, from all the way up until now, it's brilliant, and it's a good support mechanism that as well.
Honestly, I feel so sorry for the people that don't have it, because like, I appreciate her more than, life itself. I'm constantly telling her, like, you're the one that gets me through my life, because she's been there since day one. She knows everything.
I've got some childhood friends as well. Well,
I've seen the way that you and Victoria are when you're up here, Jay, and that's a brilliant friendship as well. Because I should state here that Jay's also partially sighted and does a radio show here as well, and Victoria's partially sighted or blind, is she?
Oh, Victoria's completely blind. She's total. Yeah.
And it's fantastic the way you guys support each other.
Yeah, no, Victoria loves her radio. I mean, she says, I think, do you know, actually, I've said about shmu to a lot of my blind friends, and they're like, well, let's just go to Scotland then. I wouldn't, I used to live in England, and for me, personally, I just find that I thrive better in Scotland. Okay, I'm not thriving at the moment, but I think I'd be thriving a lot worse. Because I don't know, I feel that I need that warmer, like people want, certainly not the weather, come on.
No, you're not going to get that here.
The community here at shmu, and we'll go on to talk about that later on, and Sarah's role in all this as well, but I saw you three guys when you first started here, and Rachel, you was quiet.
Sadiq wouldn't say two words.
And Jay was a little bit quiet to start off as well, and unsure of people. But now look at you guys. Sadiq, you've come on leaps and bounds since the first time you come on. I remember doing the training course, and you wouldn't speak. You sat in the studio, you wouldn't speak. Now you've got your own show. Rachel, you've got your own show. Jay's got his own show as well. And it's fantastic to see the work that they've done. As I say, we'll go into that in more detail later on. But the adult services has done with you guys.
I know, like when I first started coming to shmu, like Sarah said, I was really quiet, yourself as well. I was really quiet because obviously I didn't know anyone, and also I didn't find my fear, and it took me a while to gain my confidence because
confidence is a big thing.
Like obviously I've been knocked down by numerous people in the past, and I've been traumatized by that, and it takes a while to find your fear and then find your confidence, and then you basically find more stuff to talk about. Basically, I wouldn't have dreamed about being a radio presenter, and now I've been trained, and basically I know what to do, like more or less.
More or less.
Yeah.
We do provide full training.
You're selling yourself a little bit short there. You know how to present a show.
I heard that show. I heard your last show, actually. I was listening. It was a great show. We had some great playlists. You had some great crack with Aisha as your guest. It was a great show.
We're talking about mental health and the pressures there is, and we're talking about coping mechanisms. Now, you touched a little bit on coping mechanisms, Sadiq, about your radio show, I guess, is a coping mechanism for you.
It is, because basically that's one of my hobbies, because one, I get to play my favorite song, and two, it's about 90s, like R&B, hip-hop music. I'm into that, so yeah, and like you said, it's one of my coping mechanism, and and also you could basically get your message across, like what you enjoy doing, and you could tell, like basically you could relate with people, like with their mental health, what's going on within the city, what needs to be improved, stuff like that. So it's really good, and I'm glad I've trained for that, because it's a good way of communicating. And also I like coming to shmu because it's one of my happy places, because if I'm by myself, I'm always down and think negatively, and lot of stuff going through my head. So it's a good way of blocking those thoughts.
Jay, same question to you. What are your coping mechanisms?
All the wrong ones. No, I'm kidding on. I guess humour actually is one of my coping mechanisms. Also,
yeah, that's one of the things I do know about you. You laugh at yourself quite a lot, and you know, and that is a good thing to do. It's a good quality to have that as well.
I think the radio show has definitely helped. Well, shows I should really say, because I have a packed lunch as well. Because if I didn't, Alan Parker would have had 3. But actually,
surprised Alan Parker doesn't have 7.
Yes,
let's be honest about it. Let's be honest. But no, I love coming in and doing the show, and country music actually I find helps me cope. And it's again going back to my childhood when I was fostered. The people who I call my parents, they played a lot of country music. I've grown up with it. It's quite cathartic, especially classic country. I like modern country, okay, but it just doesn't have the same ring. Now, other coping mechanisms, chatting to people online, computer stuff. Although my eyes have been going. Now, this does link, believe it or not, because I feel like I've not been able to see as well since 2022. And this was about when I started having, in 2022, I lost one of my really good friends. Again, I think it's about guards being up and, relationships. This was a very good friend of mine. And, 2 years ago, pretty much yesterday, I said, okay, I can't be in a relationship, but I still want to be your friend. And this person said, well, it's either all or nothing. So we had to part. And, I lost my last and best friend here in Aberdeen. And, but since then, my eyes had been going. I'm partially sighted anyway. But I think I first started to properly notice it in 2010 after my trauma. After that was kind of put to rest, I went and got myself a copy of Favourite Computer magazine. That was the way to say the name there. And I was reading Favourite Computer magazine and realised with horror that I couldn't actually read it. Now, I used to be able to read standard magazines, just kind of, put them really close.
Did that affect your mental health at that time as well?
Not at that time. I was just like, oh well, I'll just have to, get an e-reader. But now it is affecting my mental health pretty significantly, because I'm scared that I'm going to lose computers, because I can't use old computers the same, because I love retro computers. My modern computer, I've got to have it zoomed in more. I've got a lovely new laptop. I'm not going to say the maker model, but it's a machine that I've been trying to get a hold of for about 6 months. Sarah knows all about it, and one of the reasons I got it was because of the screen on it. It's a fantastic screen, but even then, I still have to have it zoomed in again quite a way. But when I plug it into my monitor at home, it just kind of works better. The fonts on it, it's not a Windows laptop, is all I'm going to say. But the fonts on it are pretty good, actually. But I have really... A couple of years ago, I had a panic attack because I'd been listening to a song by Tim McGraw, and I can't remember the title, but it's When I Was in My 40s with my life, most of my life before me. I think it's Live While You Can or something. And I was like, oh, great, because I was worried about getting older, which, it sounds stupid, but I was worrying about getting older because obviously, I'm in my mid-30s now, and I, with depression, I basically wasted my 20s lying in bed. And I think I was a bit, oh my goodness, the best years are going behind me. So I searched, using a search engine for confirmation, is your life still before you in your 40s? And this website came up talking about all of the things that were going to happen when you were 40, some good, but some also very bad. And that brought about a panic attack. And ever since then, I have just not been right, and I've got this fear that I'm just basically going to be lying in bed as my faculties go, and things don't work as well anymore. I've just got this.
Yeah, no, Sarah will make sure you're still good jobs for you here, won't you?
Yeah, you're really getting away with not coming into your
Yeah.
show.
No
I'll be
way.
like, get in that taxi now.
Yeah.
But I think it's, when you said that about going on and searching and trying to diagnose our own, that's the worst thing that we can do.
I was trying
is
to
go onto
reassure
the internet
myself.
and stuff, and it's not so, because you will always, those negative thoughts are embedded in your head. So when you go and you search on the internet, you are going to find what you're looking for, whichever angle that is.
No, I didn't though, because I was trying to look for, basically still young at 40. Is life still before you at 40?
Dave's still here.
Yeah,
of course
I'm
it is.
still here.
Yeah.
That's over 60.
But this is it. I wasn't actually looking for something negative. I mean, I could understand if I
But
was
that's, you found something negative, but...
And that's what, it reminded me of something, basically, everyone in shmu, every staff, have different personalities, and you always have a laugh if you're in the building, and you will have something to laugh about, any subject, and it just lifts your mood up. Even if you're really, really down, you will always find your spirit back up, and that's what I like about shmu.
Yeah, Rachel, your coping mechanism, you sort of do a lot of volunteering as well, doing it, seating and help down there, and you've done courses as well. Do you find that's helped you as well? Does it help you get through the day and help you concentrate on positive stuff?
I don't know, because I've always got to make sure I'm doing something in one day.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden a plan changes, I'm like, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah.
Because I can't go home and sit on my own, because that's when it's the worst.
Yeah.
No.
So if I've always got the kids, then I'm always focused or trying to. But it's hard, because it kind of goes two ways. I can have the kids all the time and I'm focused, but sometimes I need that time to have the negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I need to have that downtime and just reflect and feel. But sometimes when you've got kids running around and you're constantly doing stuff for them, you lose the feelings.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
One of the things that I'm going to bring this in as well, that you started painting rocks.
Yeah.
And you've got the Rocks for Mental Health Facebook page as well. How did that come about? Because, I mean, for people who don't understand, Rachel paints rocks and she just leaves them and walks for people to pick up with positive message on them. And they're absolutely brilliant. How did that come about?
To be honest, I can't remember. It was 2 years ago that I started doing them. I don't know. I kind of, one day I was having a good day and I thought, I honestly can't remember what kind of brought me to it. But I remember being at the beach and picking up rocks, and I was like, I'm just going to start painting them. So then obviously progressed, and then I started using better pens and then feeling better because they looked better.
Do you find that helps you as well? If you're concentrating on that?
I do find it helpful, but I find it quite stressful sometimes.
Yeah. Because you've got the expectations of people saying, oh, what are you doing with rocks?
I
mean,
me. Well, I had one negative comment one time. A person messaged my page saying that she didn't like it, because she didn't think the message was true. And
maybe
it kind
not true to her, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is.
There's always going to be negative people out there, which I get, but
why do they? Why do they feel that they need to kind of come into your? If they don't like it, just move on. And I think
don't
that's
look at it.
There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there, and I think social media it can be a really damaging and toxic place. It can be a really positive place.
To say is, before I forget, you could have so many positive things going on in your life. It just takes one negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so true.
And you're back down to square one.
When I came to shmu for the first time way back, I did a show with Greg Ritchie. It was Ability Fast show. It used to be Thursdays at 2. I was doing a shmu work program at the time, and Greg interviewed me, and it's like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm doing the shmu train, so 2 days I'm at Station House doing radio stuff with Adele, and then for other 2 days I'm with someone called Brian at the Tillydrone Community Centre. And I happened to mention, I was like, I find it quite inaccessible because it's, I've had to walk over grass to get there, and it's not immediately obvious how to get there from the bus stop. And when I was after the show, obviously Brian, contacted me. Well, Brian actually talked to me, and I was like, I'm sorry, but no, it is accessible. And then the person who was doing the job training part of the show, I forget who she's called. She had quite big curly hair. She was, saying, "Oh, that's a really good show." I'm like, "Yeah, but Brian said that it's Brian said that Tilly Drone is accessible, but it isn't." It's like, how dare he, as someone who's fully sighted, say that that's accessible? That's, I'm not trying to be told what is and isn't accessible by people who don't have disabilities. And she just turned around and went, "You've had so many positive comments about this show, and this is what you're focusing on."
Yeah. That's a fair point. I think you've all said that thing as well. And the other thing as well I was going to bring up as well, labels that you guys are labelled with, because everybody's labelled with, and the stigmas attached to these labels.
Yeah.
How do that make you feel, and how do we overcome this? Because you're a single mother, you're partially sighted and autistic, you're autistic as well, and you're PTSD.
Yeah,
and
I've got a learning disability.
Yeah.
Also diagnosed with PTSD. So 2 labels.
Yeah, but I think people should see beyond the labels and see the person.
Exactly, and also another label, I've got cerebral palsy. As you guys know by my voice, I've got hoarse voice. It wasn't like that. Basically, I went for another reason. Inside my body, one of my arteries was blocked. So I went under the knives, and basically they were trying to solve the issue, and then next thing I wake up from sleep, I lost my voice. I never recovered from that, so I do struggle with that a lot. And for me to talk in public, it has to be quiet. If it's really loud environment, I do get frustrated. One, because I cannot make my voice heard because I cannot talk loud enough.
Yeah.
So that's quite frustrating for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find the stigma attached to being autistic, Jay, affect you, or that people don't understand it? And
yes.
How do we get people to understand?
Do you know,
things?
it's quite funny actually, because I wasn't originally diagnosed as autistic. See, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome because I was diagnosed late. Now, someone on the street, I used to get bullied quite a lot on the streets around where I used to stay. Someone on the street turned around and said, "You're autistic." Now, obviously, there was, certain disabilities that were used as swear words. The old name for cerebral palsy became a swear word. That's why I think it's now cerebral palsy. I did not know that at the time, but I knew the word, and I knew that it was a disability. So, when I was diagnosed, the doctor said, "Oh, well, it's not autism as such, it is on the autistic spectrum, it's Asperger's syndrome." So I went with that, and I was like, "Oh, it's not autism," because to me, autism is, well, I knew someone who was autistic and they were a lot lower functioning, and I'm like, no, that's not me. And obviously growing up without that diagnosis and then coming to terms with it, but then at the same time a lot of things happening that that I had difficulty with that really did resonate with me. It's like, oh, thank goodness, now I know why.
Can I just say something? Sorry to interrupt. Basically, people like to label people.
Yes.
That kind of makes people feel very alienated, exclude people from being normal. I don't know. I never would able to find what's the reason behind it. Why do people like to label other people?
I think it's just easier for people to do that.
Lack of education, lack of awareness.
Yeah, that's it.
People don't don't know. They've seen what
market education,
what the media portray people to be, what the media portray single parents to be.
Well, I was going to say about single parents, Rachel. I mean, do you find that it's a stigma attached to you and say, "Oh, she's a single mom" and all that? Because it's horrible to put people in boxes like that.
Not so much for being a single mom, but I think definitely with like mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, see, my whole time throughout school, like, if you had mental health, you were attention seeking.
Yeah.
So it was just like nobody's ever. I don't feel like anyone's ever really understood what it's like. And like I've been through, like, my whole life I kind of went through like different counselling and therapies and stuff, and like I don't really know. Like it was almost like I just kind of got brushed off.
Yeah.
Because I was too complex.
I think that's easy for people to do that, to say, "Oh well, it's okay," and not diagnose or just throw pills at you, as we say earlier on.
Yep.
And people have got the right to be rightly diagnosed and right to the right health care as well. Do you think you'd agree with Sarah?
Yeah.
Even though, like, when you're diagnosed, nowadays it's very hard to receive the help that you need, and you have to constantly battle that. Like, nowadays it's very hard to receive help, and you have to be in the waiting list, and by waiting and waiting, you kind of feel fed up and you can't be asked anymore, and you just feel like you want to give up.
That's where we go. That's where there's a lot of pressure. It is that by the time that waiting list comes round, it's too late for some people. And that's a really scary thing. People don't have 12 weeks. People don't have a year. People don't have 2 years. And that's, it's really scary that there's a lot of people out there that are on these waiting lists that are desperate for help and that are not getting it.
But what I think is good here, though, and we're going to go into the next sort of segment here, is that coming to shmu and working with adult services and working with people like Sarah and that is certainly, how has it helped you? Sadiq, to start off with.
Like, it helped me in a lot of ways. One, basically what Sarah does, like, support people like who's vulnerable, who's lonely, and they don't have nowhere else to go, and it's really nice thought behind it. Like, I want to praise Sarah. Like, I want to thank her because one, basically, what's the word for it? Like,
it's all about support as well, and being able to come down here. And I know that you work one-to-one with a lot of people as well, Sarah, and people can come to you and tell you stuff, and you're able to help them, or maybe point them in the right direction as well for assistance.
So we will do. Well, if somebody's coming in as a volunteer, you've got that full support package from the adult services team, from myself, from Ula, for Kirsten, from the employability team. It's not just coming in and you're doing your radio show. We can support with other issues that are going on. And help. If we can't help, we'll find somebody that will help.
And that's what I'm very thankful for, because I get to talk to Sarah or Kirsten or Eula how I'm feeling, what's been bothering me, or what's not right. And basically, like, there isn't a lot of help available.
No, that's right.
And it's very hard to find the right help that you need. And basically what Sarah does, like, basically build people confidence up. She points like people in the right direction, signpost people what they need help with, and also I'm very thankful for it. Like,
Jay, the same question for you. It certainly helped you a lot, hasn't it, coming down here?
I definitely think it has. I mean, just having a bit more support with things, and I started. I came back because I wanted to do radio, and then I was told, "Oh, we'll be having a mental health cafe, and we'll have different things," and it's fantastic because there's been other opportunities So, for example, I was on the songwriting course.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm going to speak about that to you, Sarah, as well, about the wellbeing cafe that started. Has been run over a year now, and that's people come down here, and it's great because people don't need to say anything. They just need to come down and sit, or they can sit and chat. You've got them doing crafts and that, and it's a good social thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That we started that after kind of lockdown, identifying that so many of our volunteers and participants that were coming in that were okay, they were coming in for their radio training, they were coming in for their TV training, but actually they just wanted to come in and socialise. You know, we'd been hid away and locked up for a couple of years, and folk were missing that face-to-face interaction. So yeah, we started the Wellbeing Cafe. Runs every Thursday 2 till 4. We've got different speakers coming in. We do arts and crafts, we play games, we drink a lot of tea and biscuits.
And that's the thing, like, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Basically, in the city, like when I first moved to Aberdeen, I didn't have that option to me until somebody signposted me here. Like, basically I was very lonely, very isolated, and like there is that option now to me available. I could come here, have a cuppa, have a talk, do the things I like colouring, or other arts and craft, like there's lots of workshop like Sarah mentioned. People come and and like a lot of those options is closing down. Like, for example, a lot of community centres stuff is closing down,
libraries as well,
and basically people don't prioritise that anymore. So people who have the option available, they should be very thankful, because there isn't many options available to people.
Well, I remember, Rachel, your first day at training, and you didn't know what you were going to do. You didn't even know why you was going to be here, why you was here. Yeah. But you've come on, and it's like a safe space for you to come down here, enjoy coming in here and socialising with people and doing shows and stuff like that. And I think it's important for people to realise that it's not just a radio station here. There is a hell of a lot more than that here for people to get involved with it, as I say, the adult services. But you also help out the Seaton Community Centre as well, don't you? So did you do that before you started here, or was it vice versa?
No, it was I briefly started at the community centre first, and then I got speaking to Tim, and I was with Family Learning, and obviously Laura from Family Learning used to work here, so they'd kind of got us. So we had the Family Learning group, and they'd kind of said to us, like, we'll take a trip up to shmu and see what it's about. So we'd came up, and then you said about I can't remember who, probably Adele, said about the training courses. So when I'd came away from like my group of friends, I was like, I kind of needed, it was almost like to fill a void.
Yeah.
And I just needed to keep busy, because I would do stuff with them every day. So like I didn't have that anymore. So I needed to kind of fill my days with stuff. And so when I came, I was like, I don't know what I want to do or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I remember you and Adele asking, like, what do you want to come from the course? And I was like, I don't know, you know. But I don't know. Just coming here is like, it sounds bad, but it's just kind of keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I really need from it. Because I kind of struggle, like, I don't really want to talk to people about it, you know, like when I come in, because I'm like, I just think people won't understand.
Yeah. And
it's quite brutal. So I won't really give people the chance to kind of understand who I am or what I'm about, because I just, you know, the whole disappointment thing. So yeah, I kind of just take what I need from it, and just like by keeping busy and like doing my show. Obviously I spoke about mental health and stuff, which was a little bit of like therapy, but when I'd went home, I'd started thinking, like, people are going to listen to that thinking that it's a sob story, do you know what I mean, or that I'm too negative, or that it wasn't positive.
But you're not,
enough.
because you'll be supporting. You know how many people that would be sitting listening to that, and they'll actually identify. You're not alone.
And even if you only hit one person that identifies with that, to me that's job done, because without you saying that, they wouldn't have heard that, and they didn't think that as we were talking to the guys with the mental health, the
men in mind,
in the men's sheds,
yeah.
they were saying that they get people along there and they think they're the only one that is struggling. They come along and meet 5 or 6 other guys who are going through exactly the same thing as them.
Yeah.
And without that, and without like Shmu here as well, because I'm so incredibly proud of you, Rachel, and you, Sadiq, because I was right in it, your training right from the start. So I've seen you guys go from didn't know what to do, which was Rachel, and you, Sadiq, saying nothing, to going and doing your own shows. It's been absolutely fantastic for me, and
that's for me. It's seeing the progress in people like yourselves.
Yeah, well,
you've
seen that. You've seen that for the doing that.
And seeing that actually we do make a positive impact in people's lives.
No, absolutely.
For that, I would like to thank you guys. Like, you guys make a huge difference to people who is struggling, and you guys encourage people to come and participate, and there's varieties of option in under one roof. And yeah, basically I would ask Sarah to fill in the light and let people know what you guys do in the building. And yeah,
I think you could do that for us, Sadiq. I think you could be the next spokesperson.
You guys are really good at promoting Shmu, and it's success stories as well, because
it needs to come from you guys.
Yeah,
because I can go out to places and say, "Oh, come to Shmu, we're great," blah blah blah. But actually, without you guys getting those voices out, coming, even talking about your mental health and everything like that.
Yeah.
But actually saying, "Oh, you know what, Shmu's actually more than a radio, okay, you're all doing radio, but there's the support element of that as well."
Well, yeah.
And that's why it's so important that we get your voices out there to advocate for.
One of the other things that you started as well, Sarah, and I know that Jay and Sadiq participate in that, is the wellbeing walks as well.
Yeah.
And that's really important. I mean, we learned when I did the mental health first aid course that we did, that one of the most important things is to taking yourself out of the environment, get out in the fresh air, and actually talking side by side, just talking.
Yeah.
And it might seem a simple thing, but it's so important.
I don't know if they're going to be so happy after last month's walk when we left and it was beautiful blue skies and then it was hailstones. We're all soaking.
You can't control
I can't control the weather.
Well, I mean, there's another facet of that, which is the photography group. Not the wellbeing walks, but I mean that can link in with that. So I got a very entertaining picture of Yvette. Yes, the same Yvette of the Dolly Parton Track of the Week thing, and
I'll show you after.
it's very basically her looking pure drocket in the rain.
Drocket. I like when you get somebody trying to say Doric. Drocket.
Drucket.
That's the one.
That's it.
Drucket.
We can teach a lot of things at Shmu, but maybe we need to improve our Doric.
Yeah, it's a Doric class.
Doric classes.
You don't
Drucket.
basically like Sarah was saying, when we went for a wellbeing walk, when we went out, it was really sunny, promising weather. Halfway through, next thing we see, there's hailstones and raining. So when we came back, we was absolutely drenched.
But do you know what? We all still laughed. We all still smiled.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. And without that, when you've just been sitting in your house, just mulling over things.
Okay, you'd have been dry, but you'd have been bored and wouldn't have had our.
Yeah. Do you know? I've got to say, as someone who caravanned a lot as a kid and who went to a school for the visually impaired, who we did a lot of outdoor education activities because it was confidence building. I think that's done really well for us, and I think the amount of times that we've had a laugh about like the weather and whatnot, and I'm sorry, yes, it's awful if you're caught out in hailstones, because that's what I want. That's somewhat, obviously someone up there obviously said, what about rain, but if it was sensory overload? Yeah, because that's what we want, hailstones. It's awful, but I'll tell you something, there's nothing so nice as getting back, getting dry, and having a hot drink.
Get a vet to make your cup of tea.
I'd definitely put a vet on tea duty.
Yeah. See, I'm like the opposite. Like, if I went out and it started to rain, I'd be like, this was meant to happen. This was meant to happen to me. Like,
That's a very mindful way of looking at it.
but it's a total negative mindset. Like, I feel like my negative mindset carries me around every single day. You know, and it's just like you're just following you, waiting for something to happen, and then instantly,
I see
it started to raining. Oh well, that was supposed to happen to me.
But
You know?
if you look at it that positive way, you're not letting that spoil your day because you're thinking in your head that that's meant to happen. It is what it is. Just accept and go along with the flow.
Yeah,
You'll
I
get
don't know.
dry,
Yeah.
and you'll maybe have to do your hair and makeup again, but
Yeah. I find it really hard when people tell you to like see the positives and everything.
I
Do you know, like
understand.
that's like a total. I think that's like one of the biggest things about mental health is like people don't realize what people are thinking. And like, I don't know how many times in my life I would probably be a millionaire if I got £1 for every time someone said, well, you just need to see the positives, because I'm I can't. Like, I'm a negative person. This is my mental health, and that's who I am. But I don't know, because like I feel like throughout school, you know, like everything was negative, and then you would try and like going back to coping mechanisms, you know, like there was like a lot of self-harm at school and like eating disorders and stuff, and people never understood it. I'm going off a tangent here.
No,
people,
you're okay.
No, people like they didn't understand, and it's like one of the biggest things that's not spoken about.
It's so
you know?
true.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, you know, like I'm a self-harmer, I'm not gonna lie, but when I've had someone tell me, well, you've not done it in however many weeks, that's a really positive thing, and I don't see it as a positive thing, because I'm constantly thinking about the next time I'm going to do it, or the next time I have a trigger, or the next time I'm not feeling
You're
positive.
waiting for the drop.
You're waiting for, literally going back to when you said you're waiting for that.
You're waiting
that
for
fall.
that drop, yeah. And I remember having counselling. I was at university. I'll not say where, but it was before I came up to Aberdeen. I was down in England. I just said where, but not. England's a very big place. So I was at university, and I was at the University of England, and undergoing counselling, and to be honest, I turned the whole thing into a joke amongst a few friends of mine, because all this counsellor would say is, well, think positively about that. Think positively about that. And then when she wasn't doing that, do we need to have a look at the work, rest and play triangle? Because if you focus too much on one, you'll see the triangle gets shorter on one of the other sides. I'm like, oh, no,
I hate that triangle.
I think
I hate it.
Can I just say, like, I think what people are trying to do is just make you feel better, like, you know, like when you're
totally.
Like when you're going through like something negative, they want to distract you and make you feel positive. So
but are they trying to make you feel better, or try to make themselves feel better?
I think sometimes it's people don't know what to say, and I think that's where we're at. Is it's a lot of people don't know.
But I
tell
think
you what I'd like to do with that triangle. I'd like to make it so that it's like kind of facing like a right arrow, and then paint it green. And then when I click it, when I tap on it, then country music happens. It becomes a play button.
I thought you were going to say it just means get out.
Guys, I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you so much for coming in. You guys are a credit to yourselves, believe me. And thank you for being so open and sharing your experiences. And most of all, thank you to the listeners. Remember, if you've been impacted by most of the issues raised in this podcast, remember, you're not alone. Help is available, and you can find these services and the helplines at the end of our podcast. So, and thank you very much, Sarah, for coming in as well.
Thank
as
you.
You've been absolutely fantastic, and you continue to be fantastic in supporting these people as well. So,
thank you for having us and making this happen. And also, obviously, people will listen in and hope, like, we come to a solution, for people, like, to receive the right treatment, right help, and not letting it get more worse.
Excellent.
And that's the aim of this podcast.
Thank you. I couldn't have put it better myself. Closing words from Sadiq. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you very much, Sadiq. And thank you very much, Sarah. I've been Dave Ironside. Goodbye.